Hello everyone, ex-Bethelite here, 937-789-4029. I don't know if I've told you guys about the time I about died at Bethel. I remember mentioning to you that I wasn't getting help fixing my car at the auto shop. There's an auto shop there at Bethel, at Walk Hill. There's an auto shop. And I wasn't getting help fixing my car. They would order the parts for me, but I wasn't getting help fixing my car. So there were a couple things that were issues with regards to my car. There was a situation where my alternator went out, had to get the car towed back to Bethel, and had to work on that myself. There was another issue where there was something wrong with the struts or the rudders or something in the back of the vehicle. There's like the left back of the vehicle while I'm driving, you could hear, and plus like it felt like when you would go over a bump, like there was no shocks back there. And you know, I don't know how to do all this stuff. I don't have money. I'm at Bethel. I don't have money to take this car to a regular auto shop, and they weren't helping me with my car because of something having to do with the whatever it is that you have to get your car through in New York, some inspection of some sort. Well, okay, but you have plenty of brothers there that work on cars. That's their job there at Bethel. And I don't know. I haven't worked on cars. Granted, my father owned an auto shop, and I've done oil changes and things like that. But as far as taking things apart and putting in shocks and struts and all kinds of stuff like that in the back, I don't know how to do all that. But I was left to do all that by myself. How was I ever going to get this car past state inspection without having those things installed? And how was I going to have those things installed if I didn't know how to install them? When you send your kid to Bethel, you don't think, well, he needs to know how to install shocks and struts in his car, because you think that the organization is going to take care of all that. No, they don't care. I kid you not, I worked my tail off on this car. I worked my tail. If I wasn't at my assignment or studying for a meeting, I was at the auto shop working on my car. Again, I had my parts, and they allowed me to use the tools, but no one with the know-how was showing me how to do anything. How are you going to get to your meetings? I have relatives. My father lived, Google this, because I don't know exactly how far this is. My father lived in Trenton, New Jersey. So Google that from Walk Hill, 800 Red Mills Road, Walk Hill, New York. Google that. Believe it or not, I still remember, unless I got that wrong, if that's still the address, I still remember the address. 800 Red Mills Road to Lawrenceville or Trenton, New Jersey. Google that and you'll see how far of a drive I have to visit my father. And one of the reasons why I wanted to visit my father is because I had the issue with the struts. It sounded in the back like I had no shocks or anything in my car. So I call him, I let him know I'm heading down there. He's saying that he's going to take care of it. My father was not a Jehovah's Witness at all. He knew about them, of course, because I was a member, and that was the reason why I was in his area in Walk Hill, New York. I'm talking the witnesses up. I'm talking them up. I'm trying to make them sound good. But here I am calling him They have an auto shop there at Wallkill. But I'm calling my father in New Jersey, Trenton, New Jersey, to use his auto shop to have him help me work on my car. Explain that and explain how that's going to leave a good impression. So no, of course I didn't leave a good impression about Watchtower. Watchtower didn't leave a good impression about Watchtower to my father. You could forget him joining, even though that was my goal. At the time, I believed in it. So I'm trying to get my father to join the religion. And, you know, I couldn't because of things like that. So, of course, I drive. I'm thinking it's 4 hours. You guys can Google it. Google 800 Red Mills Road, Wallkill, New York, to Trenton, New Jersey. I don't remember exactly the address of the auto shop there. But I drove clear from there, from Bethel, to my father's auto shop. And keep in mind, I spent hours working on my car, and I'm not a mechanic. And I spent hours working on my car. Well, I get down to New Jersey, and a good friend that had worked for my father for many, many years, his name is Dan. He worked for him for years since I was little. He'd been working with my father, or for my father, in his auto shops. Well, you know, I'm sitting in the lobby area, and my father's got Dan looking at my car. Well, Dan's in the back looking into my car, and he calls my dad. And I kid you not, these were the words coming out of his mouth. He said, "Is there somebody trying to kill your son?" When he said that, I got up from my seat and I walked. This is my father's auto shop, so I've got access to everything. So I got up from my seat and I walked from where people normally sit when they got their car, they're getting their cars worked on, to the main area where people are working on the car. There's a fire truck driving by. You guys may hear that. Maybe not. But he literally, flat out, he didn't. Now, Dan does not know that I had been tinkering with this car trying to get it figured out for hours. I had tools, I had everything, but nobody that knew how was going to show me anything. He did not know that I had been tinkering with my car for who knows how long before I finally called my father and say, "Hey, I need help." He didn't know that. All he knew was what he saw when he looked at my car to work on it. Things, apparently I did such a bad job. Things were so loose in the back. I had loosened things up to the point, and not tightened them back up. I had loosened things up to the point where when Dan looked at it, an actual auto mechanic looked at the back of this car, where the wheels and everything that's pretty important were attached to it. He looked at it and he thought somebody and purposely loosened things up to the point where they were trying to kill me. So he said, "Is there somebody trying to kill your son? You know, is there something going on that I need to know about? Like, look at this." So my father goes back and looks at it, and he calls me back there, and he says, "Who did this?" And I told him the truth. I told him that I did it. You know, I was left. Who else was going to work at my car? They got an auto shop, but who else was going to work on the car? They got mechanics in there, but none of them was going to help me. You know, they didn't have to technically work on it, but they could have at least given me some instruction or helped me a little bit. But they weren't going to because they didn't care. So my father is looking at my car and he just threw his hands up. And he said, "Mark, And I don't know what he was going to say after that, but he just stopped and he walked away. Because the car was in that bad a shape that I'm driving something I could have died in. Is how bad a shape it was in. Keep in mind, I drove this car. I shouldn't have been driving it at all. It was how bad it was by the time I got done loosening stuff and tinkering with it and trying to figure crap out. You know, cars that you drive aren't something that you just loosen stuff up and, you know, mess with and take stuff apart and then drive it. You can die that way. That's the situation Bethel put me in. So, you know, they fixed the car. They got everything the way it should be. But it was in such bad shape that one of the mechanics thought someone was trying to kill me. That's how bad of a job I did by myself, not knowing what the world I was doing, working with my car. Bethel needs to change that before somebody gets hurt. They need to change that before somebody gets hurt. If you guys have an auto shop there at Bethel for situations where something happens with somebody's car, and of course they're not getting paid, so they're not going to be able to go to an auto mechanic, so they got a Bethel, you know, a shop there. Whether the car passes state inspection or not, you guys can still show people how to work on their car, because I wouldn't be here right now, and I'm sure Bethel wouldn't have a problem with me not being here right now telling everybody about what happens there. 937-789-4029. I'll go in depth about it later, but yeah, I was left working on the shocks and struts and stuff like that in my car and didn't know what I was doing at all, but worked my tail off trying to loosen stuff so that I can put other stuff on, and didn't finish the job. Just told my dad, hey, I need help, and drove the car to my dad's auto shop to figure out where it is. Just Google 800 Red Mills Road, Walker, New York, to Lawrenceville, New Jersey, and you'll know about how far I drove in a car that was in such bad shape by the time I got done tinkering and loosening stuff that somebody looking at it would assume somebody was trying to kill me. That's how bad it was. So I could not be here right now. I could literally not be here right now. That's how unloving this organization is. They could care less. They could care less because there's plenty of parents willing to send their kids up to Bethel. They don't have a shortage of parents willing to send their kids up to Bethel knowing nothing about it. They're willing to just toss their kids at the mercy of Bethel, just assuming God is directing this organization. It's not. He's not. Obviously, he's not. You guys let me know what you think. Ex-Wallkill Bethelite signing out.